The year is 1972. America is still at war with Vietnam and inflation is on the rise. It's Election Day, the first presidential election since the ratification of the 26th Amendment, which extended the right to vote to Americans between the ages of 18 and 21. Despite the looming Watergate scandal, Richard Nixon manages to defeat Democratic challenger George McGovern in the second biggest electoral landslide that America has ever seen. This leaves the question: what caused McGovern to lose, and why was the loss so brutal? George McGovern was born in Avon, South Dakota in 1922. He was an Air Force pilot in World War II and flew 32 missions over Nazi Germany. After the war, he attended Dakota Wesleyan University and Northwestern University, eventually earning his PhD and becoming a history professor. In 1956, he was elected to the House of Representatives, where he served 2 terms before running an unsuccessful Senate campaign in 1960. He eventually won the seat in 1962. In the Senate, McGovern became an outspoken opponent to the Vietnam War, and in 1968 he briefly ran for president as a stand-in candidate for the late Robert F. Kennedy. He lost the nomination to Vice President Hubert Humphrey. In 1971, McGovern decided to give the presidency another shot. His campaign manager was the future senator from Colorado, Gary Hart. His finance chair was Abby Levine, the co-founder of Abaco Fabrics, and his press secretary was Richard Doherty. Bill Clinton, assisted by his future wife Hillary Rodham, ran campaign operations in Texas, and McGovern's New York office was run by former Robert Kennedy staffer Phyllis Holzer. It was a long shot and everyone knew it, but despite losing numerous primaries, McGovern secured enough delegates to become the party's nominee.
Chairwoman Burke, Senator Kennedy, Senator Eagleton, and my fellow citizens, I'm happy to join you for this benediction of our Friday sunrise service.
McGovern ran on a platform of ending the Vietnam War, awarding amnesty to draft dodgers who had left the country, reducing Department of Defense spending by 37%, and ratifying the Equal Rights Amendment. But above all, he ran on the platform that he was not Richard Nixon.
This is about the government. This is about credibility. This is about electronics. This is about bugging. This is about spying. This is about thievery. This is about espionage. This is about lying. This is about payoffs. This is about contradiction. This is about special deals. This is about falsification. This is about testimony. This is about wheat deals. This is about hiding. This is about dishonesty. This is about sabotage. This is about secrecy. This is about stealing. This is about hidden funds. This is about deception. This is about the White House. And this is how you stop it. With your vote.
McGovern had trouble finding a running mate. Due to his low favorability, nobody seemed to want to join him on the ticket. Among those who were asked were Senator Ted Kennedy, who had been the frontrunner to take on Nixon before the incident in Chappaquiddick, future mayor of Boston Kevin White, Senator and future Vice President to Jimmy Carter Walter Mondale, former Vice President Hubert Humphrey, Senator Ed Muskie, Senator Abe Ribicoff, Senator Birch Bayh, and Senator Gaylord Nelson, who would suggest Senator Thomas Eagleton, who would ultimately take the job.
Great. Thank you very much. It's great. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May I ask a rhetorical question? Didn't I give Roger Mudd a heck of a beating?
Just 2 weeks after his nomination, it was revealed that Eagleton had received electroshock therapy for clinical depression. He took Thorazine, which is a powerful antipsychotic, and when his medical records were leaked to McGovern, McGovern said that he saw the words manic depression and suicidal tendencies on the paper. McGovern waited to act when he learned of Eagleton's mental health issues because he didn't want to hurt his daughter, who was also seriously depressed. On August 1st, Eagleton resigned, once again leaving the post vacant.
Some minuses. George McGovern could not have been finer.
What did he say then, Senator?
Oh, we didn't take down exact notes. He expressed his confidence in me. He expressed satisfaction that my health was adequate, but he pointed out, and An argument can be made on this side that if I remained on the ticket, all the attention and all the debate would be about Eagleton, as George calls it, his past medical history. And it would take away from focusing on some problems that have to be attended to: Vietnam War, the economy, the credibility gap, et cetera, important issues that he must debate and should debate and need to be debated. It was sort of my personal belief that the Eagleton issue would fade away through this month of August, around the first day of August. 186 years ago, you tell us we had our first census. But I thought it would fade away during this month of August. You know, I'd go to enough cities so that Barry Serafin would get tired of asking me in every city of the country about my health, and that it would run its course. But an argument can be made that it would linger on. So I'm not here to say who's categorical right or who's categorically wrong. I'll just say that George McGovern could not have been finer to me. I believe in him as much as I did in Miami, and I'm going to work for him, maybe work for him doubly hard.
He again asked Kennedy, Muskie, Humphrey, and Ribicoff, all of whom once again refused the nomination, along with DNC Chair Larry O'Brien and Florida Governor Ruben Askew. Former U.S. Ambassador to France, Sargent Shriver, ended up taking the job.
On Tuesday, the Democratic National Committee will meet to select a candidate for Vice President. At that time, I will recommend the selection of Sargent Shriver as my presidential running mate.
Shriver was the brother-in-law to Ted and John F. Kennedy. He was born in Westminster, Maryland in 1915 and served as the first director of the Peace Corps from 1961 to 1966. He attended law school and served in the Navy during World War II. By this point, there was little to no chance of a McGovern victory. His poll ratings had dropped from 41% to 24%, and the Eagleton controversy put the campaign off message, and McGovern's handling of it caused Republicans to raise questions on his judgment. The 1972 presidential campaign set a campaign spending record of nearly $137 million. McGovern spent $67.3 million on his campaign, just slightly outspent by Richard Nixon, who spent $69.3 million for his landslide victory. McGovern spent $12 million during the primaries, outspending all of his Democratic opponents, and investing $1.2 million on radio and TV ads. Despite the fact that McGovern had little to no chance of winning the election, Nixon still felt threatened by him. This most likely led to the break-in at the Watergate complex in 1972. This, however, did not affect the vote for either candidate. McGovern lost because he was far too progressive for the time period in which he was running. At the time, Nixon was seen as a moderate Republican, causing many lifelong Democrats who felt that McGovern was too far to the left to vote for Nixon, the more centrist candidate, instead.